Well, dear, I see you're looking for some wisdom today. I've lived long enough to have seen many seasons come and go, and one thing I've learned, truly learned, is how important it is to spend wisely. Now, I'm not talking about how to get a bargain or when to splurge on a special treat, although those are important too. No, I'm talking about something deeper, something that will change the way you approach money for the rest of your life. If there's one thing I can tell you about money, it's this. Spending wisely isn't just about saving a few bucks here and there. It's about making intentional choices that align with your goals and values. It's about understanding the impact your spending has, not just on your bank account, but on your peace of mind, your relationships, and your future. Let me tell you a little story about Tom and me. When we first got married, we were like most young couples, full of dreams but not much of a plan for our finances. We were good people, hardworking people, but we were completely clueless when it came to managing money. If we wanted something, we bought it. If something caught our eye, we didn't hesitate. The idea of budgeting, saving, and thinking ahead just didn't cross our minds. But I'll tell you, dear, that attitude nearly got us into trouble. And it wasn't until we learned the secret to spending wisely that everything started to change. The early days living for today. Tom and I didn't start our marriage with much. We were living in a small, cozy apartment, nothing fancy, but it was ours. And we were happy. But there was one thing we hadn't prepared for: our relationship with money. When we didn't have enough to pay for something, we used credit cards. When we wanted to go out for dinner or take a trip, we didn't think twice about the cost. We bought the things we wanted and figured we'd deal with the consequences later. I remember one particular time when we bought a beautiful, shiny new couch. It was a splurge, something we had been dreaming about for months. But the problem was we didn't have the money for it. We charged it to the credit card, thinking we'd pay it off later. The couch was lovely, but it wasn't long before the credit card bill started to grow. And with it, the weight of worry. It wasn't just that purchase either. It was the little things, eating out more than we should have, buying clothes we didn't really need, and treating ourselves to things that gave us momentary pleasure but little long-term satisfaction. Our money was slipping away and we didn't even realize it. We thought we were living the good life, but in reality we were living paycheck to paycheck. We were spending today with no thought for tomorrow, and the result was that we had little to show for it except for some nice things that didn't really bring us lasting happiness. The wake-up call, the cost of irresponsible spending. One day, after a particularly stressful month, we sat down to go over our finances. We had been avoiding it for a while, but we knew it was time. I remember Tom looking at me, his brow furrowed, and saying, "Susie, I think we're in trouble." That was when the reality of our situation hit. We had bills piling up, credit cards maxed out, and no real savings. We were stuck in a cycle of borrowing from one account to pay off another, and it wasn't sustainable. I'll never forget the way Tom looked at me and said, "How did we get here?" And that, my dear, was the beginning of the change. We realized we weren't just spending money irresponsibly, we were spending emotionally. We were buying things to feel good in the moment, but we weren't thinking about the long-term consequences. We had no budget, no savings plan, and no understanding of how our spending habits were affecting our future. That was the turning point for us. We knew something had to change. We couldn't keep living this way. And so, we made a decision we would start managing our money like the adults we were. The secret to spending wisely. Now let me share with you the secret we learned that day. It's simple but powerful. Spending wisely is about aligning your purchases with your true needs, values, and goals. It's about asking yourself one important question before you buy anything. Does this bring me closer to the life I want to live? I'll tell you, dear, that question transformed everything for us. It helped us shift from being impulsive spenders to intentional savers. When we started asking ourselves if a purchase truly aligned with our values and goals, we began to make better choices. Here's how you can use this secret in your own life. 1. Live within your means. The first step to spending wisely is learning to live within your means. This doesn't mean you can't enjoy the things you love or have nice things, but it means that you only buy what you can afford without going into debt. Tom and I had to cut back on our spontaneous spending. Instead of buying things because we felt like it in the moment, we learned to plan our purchases. We started creating a budget, something we'd never done before, and made sure we stuck to it. We stopped using credit cards for non-essential items and started saving up for things we really wanted. We learned that it was okay to wait for the things we loved, and that waiting often made those things feel even more worthwhile. Living within your means is about discipline. It's about saying no to the things that are nice but unnecessary, and yes to the things that align with your priorities. When you live within your means, you start to build financial security, and that brings peace of mind. 2. Prioritize what matters most. When Tom and I looked at our spending, we realized that a lot of our money had been spent on things that didn't really matter to us in the long run. We had spent money on clothes we barely wore, dinners we didn't enjoy, and other things that were fleeting in their value. So we made a change. We started prioritizing what truly mattered. For us, that meant spending more on experiences, vacations, family gatherings, and special outings rather than material things. We also began investing in our health and well-being by prioritizing things like nutritious food and gym memberships. What matters most to you, dear? Is it experiences? Is it security? Is it something else? The secret to spending wisely is to focus on the things that bring lasting joy and fulfillment, not the fleeting pleasures that will fade once the excitement of the purchase wears off. 3. Save for the future. One of the most important lessons we learned was the importance of saving for the future. Tom and I had always thought of saving as something we would do someday, but the truth is someday never comes. The time to save is now. We began setting aside a portion of our income each month into a savings account. And not just for emergencies, though that's important too, but for our future goals. We started saving for a house, for retirement, and even for things we wanted to do in the near future. We didn't rely on debt or credit to make things happen. Instead, we used our savings as a foundation for the life we were building. If you want to spend wisely, you must make saving a priority. It doesn't matter if you can only save a little at first, just start. The earlier you begin, the more your money will grow over time. and the more you'll be prepared for whatever life throws your way. 4. Avoid impulse buying. Oh, the temptation to buy things on a whim. We all know it well. But one of the keys to spending wisely is avoiding impulsive purchases. Tom and I used to buy things because we were bored or because they were on sale. But we soon realized that those spontaneous buys were often things we didn't need and would end up regretting later. Now we ask ourselves a simple question before buying anything. Do I really need this? Will this bring lasting value to my life? If the answer is no, we walk away. And let me tell you, dear, it's a liberating feeling to resist the urge to splurge. Impulse buying can quickly drain your bank account, so take a deep breath and think before you make a purchase. The more you practice this, the easier it becomes. Chapter 4. The Rewards of Spending Wisely. The more Tom and I practiced spending wisely, the more we saw the rewards. We were able to pay off our debts, save for our future, and enjoy a much more secure and fulfilling life. We didn't have to worry about money constantly, and that brought us a sense of peace and freedom that we hadn't known before. But the rewards didn't just stop at our bank account. We were able to enjoy life in a more meaningful way. We had the money to travel, to spend time with our family, and to pursue the things that truly brought us joy. And most importantly, we had the peace of mind knowing that our financial future was in our hands. Conclusion: a lifetime of wise spending. So dear, I hope you take this lesson to heart. Spending wisely is not just about being frugal or cutting back on little luxuries. It's about aligning your spending with your values, your goals, and your vision for your future. When you spend wisely, you're not just building wealth, you're building a life of freedom and joy. You're creating the space for what truly matters and letting go of the things that don't. And in the end, that's the greatest reward of all. With all my love, Grandma Suzie. Thank you, my dears, for spending this time with me. Remember, life's journey is better when we walk it together. If these stories and reflections warmed your heart, be sure to subscribe and join me for more wisdom, comfort, and a little sprinkle of joy. Together, let's keep growing one story at a time. Until next time, stay safe, stay hopeful, and remember, you're never alone. Grandma loves you.